Hey there. Thank you for joining me once again. This is going to be a more devotional video once again, and in this video we're going to look at an idea that Amy Hollingsworth brings up in her book, The Simple Faith of Mr. Rogers. Um, and it's the idea of looking for helpers. And obviously, helpers are people who help. But looking for the helpers, I think it's so important all the time because at any time it's really easy to get overwhelmed by needs and think that you're not really able to do any good. It's easy to feel helpless and to be looking for helpers, to look for people who are helping, who are doing something to benefit their community. It can help you. It can inspire you to do something bigger than you ever thought possible. Or it could at least inspire you to say, well, if they can do something that big, surely there is something that I can do. So I really hope that you look for the helpers all the time. But if there's ever been a time to pay attention to helpers, it's now. With the coronavirus raging on, there are so many needs that are coming up, but there are also so many helpers. It can be easy to get caught up watching the news, hearing of all the horrible things that are going on, and then hearing about all the people who just don't care. And they either say it's a conspiracy or they just go about acting like it's not going to impact them. It doesn't really matter to them. Or you see the politicians who are using this pandemic as a political tool to get their way on all sides of this issue. Or you just see the immense need, the lack of supplies, the inability to make the changes that need to happen. It's so easy to get discouraged, to get depressed, and to forget that there are so many people who are helping right now. And obviously, first in our mind are all of the doctors and the nurses, everyone who's working at hospitals. And it's easy to forget some of the other workers, the cafeteria staff, the janitors, the chaplains who are there to take care of people emotionally and spiritually, while doctors are doing what they do to help take care of people physically. And then we think about our first responders, police officers who are going to be helping with security, police officers who will be helping keep all of us safe during this time. We think about the grocery store workers. We think about the restaurant workers who are doing what they can to continue moving society along as best as they can. And then we keep thinking about people who are helping out, the factory workers who are now going to be doing jobs not just to make products that we might use throughout the day, but now to potentially change over and begin making life-saving products. There are a lot of people that you could think of helping. The people who are sewing masks that maybe not be quite hospital grade, but sewing masks that will help the rest of the community have a mask that they can wear so that they're not buying up the hospital grade masks. But there are so many more people who are helping beyond that. And Amy Hollingsworth ties this idea of helping to a scripture passage from the Gospel of Matthew, where Jesus is talking. It's in Matthew chapter 25, and Jesus gives a parable that's become known as the parable of the sheep and the goats. And in this parable, Jesus divides everyone up into two groups. One are the sheep and one are the goats. It's the name of the parable. But then, after dividing everyone up, and as he's explaining, why is one group on one side and one on the other, it's because the sheep are the helpers. The sheep do things like clothing the naked. They feed the hungry. They give water to the thirsty. invite strangers and welcome them into their homes. They visit people who are in prison. They take care of the sick. And the goats didn't do this. But Jesus doesn't just say in the passage, well, you helped out some people. That was really good. I'm glad. Oh, goats, you didn't help those people. You really need to work on that. Jesus says in the passage, I was naked and you clothed me. I was hungry. I was thirsty. I was sick. I was a stranger. I was in prison. And you helped me. And both the sheep and the goats are like, well, Jesus, when have you ever been naked or a stranger or hungry or thirsty or sick or in prison? Like, when did I ever see you like that? And Jesus says to both groups, whatever you did for the least of these my children, you did for me. Look for the helpers. Helpers who are offering food to people who need it. Helpers who are maybe not going into people's homes right now, but maybe are calling around to people. Creating ways to network and connect to each other. Helpers who are taking care of people around them. Helpers maybe taking care of loved ones. Maybe trying to take care of friends. During this time, I would really encourage you, find a helper. And if you look around right now and you think, Jason, I can't see any helpers. I don't see anyone helping right now. Well, that means you get to be the helper. We're all called to be helpers. We all should be helpers. And if you are looking around and you don't see any helpers, then that helper needs to be you. And if you look around and you see other helpers, ask yourself, how can I make them better? Maybe it's just a word of encouragement. Maybe you get to help the helper. But during a time where it can be so easy to get discouraged and so easy to think negatively about all the people around you, I would really encourage you, find the helpers. And hopefully we can learn a few lessons from them.